Alright, we are back here with the Trios Chaos Semifinals 2 with our first game. Um, as a reminder, we are following Bill, who drafted Black White, probably splashing a bit of green. He's got a Broodlord, he's got the One Ring, he has multiple ways to sack the One Ring and multiple ways to get it back from the graveyard. And he's got zombie synergy, including with a Glissa he could be splashing. And his first round opponent will be Daniel Frisky Hobbit. And
Seems
looks
like keeper to me. He's got
easy keep.
two drop and his big old dragon.
What more could you
But we
ask
do
for?
have Hobbit on the play, and despite taking a mulligan, he is in red-white, which is exactly the kind of deck you want to be on the play with.
Yeah, certainly not a deck that I'm used to Frisky Hobbit playing. I'll be very interested to see how he sort of navigates that.
Ooh,
But
what a draw.
so many good draws here for Bill. We've got the One Ring. Um, certainly seems like an easy thing to be working towards. Seems like he's considering going for the mask first instead of his siege zombie. I guess just assuming the siege zombie can't block, and next turn he could sack the mask for a 3/3 that could maybe block.
Exactly. It just sets up better for his next turn where he can potentially have a blocker for that 2-1 with first strike.
Especially because he doesn't have anything else he could really be tapping to the siege zombie right now. I think that's very reasonable. He's also drawn another option here, which is Quicksand Whirlpool, which I believe can exile a tapped creature for only 3 mana.
It certainly can. Although I don't think if I'm Bill, I'm looking to use it that early.
No, I
But it's
don't
nice
think
to
he
have.
needs to, but certainly an option. And, you know, to be considered in red white, maybe he answers your 3/3 and then you're taking quite a bit of damage here, but I think it's worth trying for.
Next turn, he's even got that One Ring that can just stop his life total from going down, which is great.
Completely buffer him for a turn. I think that would be quite the excellent play. Does
Yeah, you
Eager
got the
first year get +1/+0 on Magecraft? I want to
I
say.
believe
So
what
maybe Daniel showing
else?
not having any tricks right now.
That seems like a weird swing.
Well,
Oh, the Burning Fist can.
he can bump the Burning Fist by discarding a card, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Eager first year is +1/+0 on Magecraft. Yeah, so if I'm Bill, no One Ring. Okay. I guess he just
Interesting.
wants
So
to
he's
hold up his Quicksand, make Hobbit discard a card, and then kill it in response. Yeah, and that's a great 2-for-1 there.
very impressed this 3/3 has gotten to stick around. And slightly surprised Frisky Albert would want to throw away a card to perhaps a trick, but it seems like it was just a land, so it's not like he was missing out on much there. I think
Yeah,
the mulligan probably hasn't been too kind to him, especially against a deck like Bill's that has a lot of recursion and value and ways to get to the late game.
absolutely, yeah. And if I'm, playing a red-white aggro deck, I think I'm good at 5. This 6th land is not really doing anything for me.
I would say that Zeke's deck maybe needs like a little more land than you might expect for a red white deck, but from what we saw of what Frisky Albert drafted, I would say he's definitely low curve, can stop at 5 just fine.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and I love this setup now, because of that interaction, he gets to play his Broodlord next turn.
Oh, but he's
Well,
going for the block.
I suppose that's reasonable too.
And gives you something to grave dig if he doesn't have anything.
Yep,
Uh, just means you've
and looks
cleared the
like he has
way
stuck on.
for a nice late game.
Never like to see a game go like this, but that's why we're playing best of 3.
Yep. Sadly, just the classic mulligan into flooding for your aggro deck.
Yeah, really not the kind of deck you want to be flooding with.
No. And I'm very much used to Frisky Hobbit playing more of these sort of value late game builds, so I'm sure it's probably gonna sting a bit to lose to something like the One Ring.
We even saw it in Concept Arc here with his most recent league play.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
definitely the kind
definitely.
of deck I imagine when I imagine his playstyle.
And Daniel over there with six lands on the field and one in hand, and you see the One Ring come down.
Yeah, it's.
You
I
bet
imagine
20.
if it was not a team league, that would just be a pretty easy concede.
Yeah.
Bill really considering if he's going to use his One Ring. He does.
We're gonna use the One Ring,
I
right?
I
We're
think you
using
don't
it.
play it if you're not willing to use it.
Yeah. Yeesh. That is
Tough.
really not what you want to see.
Because even if
And
he
now he can.
does top deck a couple of creatures and everything, now you're gonna see this Broodlord come down. I don't know what you do about that in red white.
And he's even drawn a way to get rid of the One Ring. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
that does require
A
Daniel to.
target,
Yeah.
but by the time it should matter for sure. And even if you do get an answer for this Broodlord, you know that it's getting him one of his best cards.
Right.
Sort of a spiral from there of just value on value. Looks like Bill
Lifelink is great
decides
too.
to get the Furja, which I think is a very excellent choice, something he can play with the mana he's got. And he's got ways to double spell in hand, especially with the One Ring getting him more cards. Um, I think that's an excellent thing to grab just in case something does happen to your Broodlord.
Yep.
I'll be
Call
interested if
me
he
crazy,
goes for
but yeah,
another ring here. I think maybe not. I think he's saying I want to keep my life total high.
keep it safe. And at this point, you don't need more cards. You're winning on board by a good margin.
You know
Just
you've got
get a few,
another good one coming.
get him dead.
It is interesting to see that he does have that black green land, so I'm suspecting at least the Glissa Splash and like the Unearth on this mask. We'll see if he has any more green cards in sideboarding.
I mean,
Um,
we'd be surprised if he's not running the Glissa, right?
Certainly, I think that would be quite the mistake. It was given to you as a gift, you should use it. So there is the removal for the
Okay.
Broodlord. That is kind of what I had in mind of what Frisky Abe could have. The only problem is I don't know what else he can do here versus the second threat the Broodlord got.
Yeah, it's a bit rough, and even stabilizing his life total with the life link so we can continue to draw cards.
Looks like Bill has decided to use the ring again. He said, without the Broodlord, I'm not winning this turn. I need to find more gas.
And he's sitting there with the life link on the board. I think it is pretty reasonable to
Yeah,
get a couple extra.
certainly. And ways to get
Yeah.
rid of it if Frisky Abbott does get some creatures on the board.
I mean, I think theoretically you could kill in Slight Blades your own creature if you
It's
really needed
true.
to. You don't feel good about it for zeroing yourself, but
If it's the life or death decision, you always can.
you got to do what you got to do. Oh, but this is great now because
Mm-hmm.
you can just sacrifice the Broodlord and Gravedigger it. Venomous
Yeah.
Containment, usually a good spell, not so great right now.
Yeah, especially with the massive amount of recursion that Bill's got in this deck. He's got a plethora of options to get it back.
Thinking about which one of his many recursion options he
Yeah.
wants.
I kind of like saving the Gearsmith because it can get an artifact back, so if you need to sacrifice the ring and get it back, you can. But it is a
Yeah,
slightly bigger body than the Gravedigger, which could be relevant.
it's potential that, like, we're optimizing very small percentages here, but that he'll
Yeah,
have.
certainly it doesn't matter, but
Yeah,
it is interesting to use up because we are on timers, so that is a decision that eats up a couple seconds of your time. Um,
yeah.
so
Although
he's probably
these decks
talking
are
them out with his team.
these aren't the decks necessarily I'm expecting to go to time.
No, certainly not.
I'd
I
love to see
think
that dub. green blue mirror match
Yeah,
is
the
the
green blue mirror definitely. I think the black white does have quite the potential to go to time. Um, but I don't think against red white it's really gonna happen.
yeah, you're gonna lose quick, or your opponent's gonna run out
You're
of
gonna
gas.
outvalue him, but I do think Frisky Hobbit did make him play it out, right? I think he could have conceded a while ago, but he made him play it out, made him waste the time. I think he's very well disciplined in that way.
Yeah, exactly what we'd expect from a three-time league winner.
Absolutely. So, some interesting cards in the sideboard. I see Make Your Move, which is a valuable sideboard. The Glorifier, which can sack the ring, is not in, but I think that's fair. Loran, I'm a little surprised, because if you were going for the full ring value, but I guess you don't really have other things to get back that you super
Yeah, I'm
care
not too
about.
excited. The Dread Malkin in the sideboard is really surprising
Oh,
me.
interesting.
That card should be in the deck. That's an
Yeah, that's
amazing.
a excellent addition to the deck. And there was a couple of picks in drafting of like the persistent specimen that he didn't pick up that I was a
Yeah,
little surprised by. I feel like
it's
there's
sad that
definitely some recursion.
he's not running the zombie pump spell, which is a little
Um,
sad, but expected.
Red alert. I don't see Glissa. I did
Uh,
see Enduring Angel, so we have the triple white and the triple black broodlord in the deck, but I did not see Glissa? Question mark.
so he might just be running
Just the
that green
land
black
for
man
the mask.
backup as a mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is odd
Hmm.
because it felt like he had okay enough fixing to warrant it, and it's such a powerful card.
And he picked fixing quite highly over some good black and white cards. Like he took a broker's hideout
Yeah,
over some very solid playables in just black white. So it feels like Glissa was the exact payoff he was looking for that green splash that he was kind of
right.
setting up for.
Well, I do like this hand. It's got early creatures, early interaction, kind of exactly what you want against an aggro deck.
And the one ring. So you know
And the
you'll
one
win the long game.
got to draw
Yeah.
a couple more lands to get there first, but he's on the draw.
Going second, I think it's an easy keep, and he's instantly being rewarded with that third land.
Yep.
Got both colors. What more could you ask for?
And notably, Hate Blade fills the party. It's a warrior, so this acquisitions expert's going to get
Oh,
two cards.
interesting. So true. I did notice I had quite a bit of party synergy in one of my league decks one of the weeks. Um, it's very funny, but also there's like the black white guys that care about from cons that care about warriors specifically, and everything is a soldier or a knight,
Yeah.
which is very frustrating. Um, Interestingly, Daniel
We're
did
going to go.
not have a two drop on two.
Yeah, not exactly what you want to see in a red-white deck.
Yeah.
And clearly, his hand must have some pretty decent cards because he's thinking a while. Two non-land cards we're getting to take out.
Interesting. I think I take Destroy Evil here.
Well, looking at Bill's hand
Well,
currently,
that's
Destroy Evil.
true.
But
But
neither does Bart since Hobbit has no creatures on board.
right, neither of these I'm particularly worried about, but I think Destroy Evil has the potential to kill some of the creatures he really cares about, like some all his win conditions in the deck that he's
And
looking to
with
draw into.
Bill's hand right now, he has three ways to 2-for-1 a pump spell,
Right.
right?
He would love for him to go for the barge in so he can respond with a Light Blades or a
Exactly.
Whirlpool. So
Yeah,
I
'cause
think
we're talking
knowing
about the
about it makes it much less powerful.
which is interesting. I wonder what the rest of Hobbit's hand looks like if he was willing to show
Yeah,
those
if
two
those were
cards.
the two, I'm very
Two
interested
cards I
what was
really
left.
don't want my opponent to know about.
Mm-hmm. We have to assume the Pie Wielder was one of the things.
But if I'm playing the Pie Wielder next turn, I don't care if I show him. Well, I guess you can take it and then you would roll that
Right.
to your free.
You
Yeah, it's
assuming
not.
he didn't because he didn't have a two drop creature. Assuming his three drop creatures quite matter.
Yeah. Really, using the Light Blades, I think I would just be okay with trading
You can't. It
with
has
them.
first strike.
I knew that.
I was just thinking the same thing is the only reason I know. I was like, surely you just give it Death Touch and call it a day. But then I looked at it and was like, oh, that's because it has First Strike. You have to do this. So Frisky Obbit was making
Oh,
him have it.
I think we know what that face down is, right? That's the code breaker
That's the
that he
code
can't.
breaker. That's the only disguise creature that we saw out of Frisky Obbit's pool.
Disguise creature is usually good, but I guess pools aren't open,
They aren't
so
open. So in League, I think disguised creatures were quite bad because your opponent could always know what they
yeah.
were. But I think in this, they're
But
perfectly good because it could be anything.
Bill hasn't seen. Bill never got a chance to see the code breaker in his
No,
pack two
he
pick one.
definitely does
He has no
not.
idea
No.
if his teammates saw it either.
Yeah. And I don't think it was one they would note about. I think it was a first pick out of like pack two or three. Ooh, the
Good old
tree.
man.
So I wonder if this red cap was actually something Frisky Obbit had in hand for a while, and he was saving it to double
Uh,
spell to trigger the Pie Wielder.
he realizes the One Ring, right?
Oh, I don't think he does.
He
I made this mistake in a practice for League, very much so. I've made this mistake
wait. Why are we blocking? Just don't
to
block. You have
kill it.
protection. But he has a pump spell in hand, right? We know
Yeah,
about it. Just I think we're just taking damage,
yeah,
right?
but just take it, just take it.
You're not even taking it. Oh no. I
Ooh,
just don't think you wanted to do that. There's no reason why you blocked there.
this is not great all around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'm expecting a big old oops from
Yeah, I
Lava
think that's
maybe.
a oops on both sides.
And notably, he did not use the One Ring.
No, he did not. Even though he was at 20, I think he probably ought to have, because I think an extra card this turn would have gone a long ways.
Yeah, but I think I feel pretty good about just killing that disguise.
I think it's either that
If
or
I,
Soul Savage and pay a 2-drop. The 2-drop you would want to play, I think, is one
yeah,
that gets a
but
card
if
out
I'm
of
Bill,
hand,
I
so.
don't think I want to risk my opponent having a powerful disguise, especially if I didn't see it.
Yeah, and of course we know that it would refill Hobbit's hand, so it was.
Yeah,
You needed to kill that, because that was going to turn the
right.
corner for him.
But if it's a morph or a disguise that you picked up early, it's got to be something
Something
warranting that
important.
early pick,
Agree.
right? You don't want to have it be an Aurelius Vindicator or some.
So true.
Well, there's our
And
proof
I
of it.
think Codebreaker was certainly up there on the list of things it could be that would be a problem.
Absolutely. I think we're hoping we draw a land here. Ooh,
I don't
well, nice.
hate
We're pretty.
the Goshentai, but yeah, I think Runic Shot also.
Yeah. He said, "I'm okay with taking a bit of extra damage." Maybe he's not.
Maybe he said, let's clear the board, and I've got 4 more cards than you.
Yeah. Once again, from this position, it'll be hard pressed for.
It does feel like Frisky Abbott had one way to refill his hand, and it did get killed.
It died. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That whole turn was a mess with the One
Yeah.
Ring and then deciding to block anyway and getting his creatures blown out. Like,
I do think Red White just has quite a problem dealing with the sort of card draw that the One Ring brings, and just the
yeah,
recursion value that this deck has as a whole. I think it's
absolutely.
it's really tough for Red White to deal with, especially the kind of Red White that Frisky Rabbit's got, because we didn't see a lot of red card draw, which isn't really very common. So of course we didn't really see it in the draft. Um,
Yeah, you have these like you know tormenting voice, thrill of possibility effects they've been putting more and more of, but I didn't even see a lot of those going
no,
around.
I didn't, and I didn't even see a lot of steel effects in this one. I feel like in the practice we did, we saw a lot of active treasons. But
Right.
I feel like this Go Shintai would have been one that one of the red white decks might have liked. Because I feel like Frisky Rabbit has a couple of board pumps. And some
Ooh,
go wide
that's a
like
great
this one.
and
So,
especially with my opponent having a One Ring and taking two
now
damage
that,
per turn.
if he can top deck at one of his many pumps, and I know he has 2 War Scribes, and I think
Or
maybe
Scribe would be
another
great.
5-drop that gives a buff to the board, could
Demon
very
Society
much
is
be
really
in
good.
it.
You want to be drawing now too,
Yeah.
especially when your opponent made 4 1/1s just then. That's Not great.
Not what you want. He's thinking of tapping two of his creatures for a Broodlord.
A bit risky.
Oh, he's a bit limited on his black. He cannot cast his soul transfer
Oh,
and any other spell, is sort of the
but
problem he's facing.
notably, he does have brought back and enchantment.
Yes.
He will get both modes on it.
So, I wonder, does he have a 3-drop or less in just white that he could get? Hate Blade. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly better than
It's a
the
blocker.
acquisition stage. Opponent's hand is empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a blocker. He'll make another blocker with the Goshentai. So, Frisky
Yep.
Hobbit still needs a couple of really good draws here, but the One
Yep.
Ring
War Scribe.
certainly doing damage.
Yeah, War Scribe off the top would be great.
Mm-hmm. He's got 2 of them.
Removal.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
It's a good thing
certainly
he
no
got
problem.
the full.
I mean, currently doing nothing, Frisky Hobbit wins due to the ring damage.
It is true.
So,
I'm probably here.
interesting.
Right. You can kill 2 of those.
I
But
guess it makes sense to swing here. I guess I would really hope for a board pump, but I guess he only has probably 3 or 4 of them.
and you gotta imagine if my opponent's taking 4 here and then 2 more on their upkeep, they're down to 5.
So I just need them to take a little more. And he can't really
Yeah.
afford to tap his creatures for the Broodlord.
Right.
So he
You're-
is sort
you're
of
just
restrained on his mana right now, but doesn't really want to draw from the ring.
Yeah, and you're kind of hoping now that your opponent just doesn't find a way to get rid of their One Ring.
Right. He doesn't have a way in hand. We know he has a couple extra ways like the Glorifiers in the sideboard. But of course, if you're lucky enough to have the One Ring in all your opening hands, surely you won't die to it.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
This Demon's Disciple, I imagine, will be sacking the Hate Blade.
Mm-hmm. And then you just need to top deck Lifelink or a way to get rid of this ring. I wonder.
Get the 1 damage in first, right? But I
Yeah.
suppose you think
I
it doesn't
think.
matter much.
Yeah, he's not really looking to attack. He's looking to survive.
You do get to. You lose your 2 life on upkeep.
But then you'll use it to draw on your turn to try and find an answer, right?
Oh no, he's taking at least
2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill's got to double block this Mayhem Patrol.
Yeah. No choice. And then Daniel gets to draw the card as soon as it dies.
Yep.
So then he might be able to play something else. Well, we have found the way that the red-white deck can win.
By your opponent dealing themselves a lot of damage.
A lot of damage with the ring. I think as much as Bill's deck has a lot of recursion and a lot of zombies, he could have slightly more life gain to go with the ring.
That's a great draw also.
That is a fantastic draw. Alright, draw with your ring. No, don't concede, draw.
Oh, come on.
Come on, you get 3 more cards to try and find a way to sack it. So, if you're Bill, is that a reason to have Glorifier in the deck?
I think it's such a neat that I don't think I'd bother. I would have boarded in the lockdown, actually. What are we doing?
Oh, what an excellent point. He took that lockdown before other premium white removal, so...
Yeah, there's the reason we took it, right?
Yes, this is the exact matchup that he took the lockdown for, in my opinion.
I don't think Daniel had a card on the board that cost more than 2 the entire game.
No, definitely not. The other red-white deck has a bit more of a higher curve, but this one, easy lockdown deck.
That's exactly what you want the lockdown for.
Looks like no sideboarding from Bill. I wonder if he's a little mad that he lost to his own ring. Which is very fair. Yeah. I would be too. This feels like quite the good matchup for him.
The deck is fine. He's saying, I'm on the play now.
Yeah.
I've got a better chance to turn up. I'll be okay.
And I think he's probably right. But we shall see. Another reasonable hand. What does this trial do?
It's an edict, and then
Mhm.
whenever you play a cartouche, it returns to your hand.
Okay. I don't think he saw any cartouches, but
Yeah. So for Bill, it's a diabolic edict. He's going to use it to make Hobbit sack the first creature he plays, and we'll move on with our lives.
and I think that's a very good use. Maybe less good in this matchup than most, but
Yeah, but I'm sure it can pick off, um, an early 2 or 3 drop
yeah,
and
any two
save
drop you're
one.
happy to get rid of. Mm.
Especially that one. Yeah, I'd be shocked if
Especially
we didn't
Hobbit's
see.
pack one, pick one. I think we'll definitely
Yeah,
be getting rid of that.
it
Yep.
failed the trials.
Yep. Very quick fire off. Goodbye.
Completely understandable.
Completely agreed.
And now, knowing Bill, he will top deck the One Ring next turn to play it.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
Almost.
almost as good.
It's a great card.
And it's something that can sack the ring.
It
to,
is true.
to
It is
craft.
true.
It is one of the
Yeah,
like 5 ways in his deck to sack the ring. And
very
one of the
much not
best
wrong.
ways, in my opinion.
Yeah, turns out an Anthem with, I would be saving that Vengeful River, I
Yeah, I
think.
would definitely be saving that. I'm getting that bricks out there and then playing the planes it gets
Yeah.
me.
Next turn, you just get to play your Sunblade Samurai and call it a day.
Yeah, I think we know Frisky Hobbit's sort of in a deck that would like to be trading off. So I think it would be very easy to trigger this Rebel later. I don't know
I'm
if
with you on
maybe
that.
he's worried that Frisky Hobbit's going to have a lot of creatures soon. He wants to have blockers. I don't know if he's trying to push damage.
Necropanther's pretty good draw.
Very, very good. So I'm thinking probably swing both and then Necropanther, whichever one he blocks.
I'm even just okay with playing
Playing
Sunblade
Samurai.
Samurai
Mm-hmm.
turn, yeah. It's great in a race. A 4/4 with vigilance is going to make your opponent have bad blocks and ignores attacks.
Yeah, I think that's an easy play there.
Yep. If it dies, you've got Necropanther as a backup.
Don't think Necropanther can get it back specifically. I think it's mana 3 or
Oh,
less,
it's only 3 drops or less, right? Doesn't have any
but
keyword. No keywords, but still great recursion. And worst comes to worst, it's a 3 mana 3/3.
yeah, certainly nothing to complain about. Interestingly, Daniel up on cards currently. For the first time
Yeah,
in this matchup.
zombie.
Oh, the zombie payoff, the Colossus. And I know of at
Unfortunately,
least half a dozen zombies in this deck, probably closer to like 10.
unfortunately, one of them is on the battlefield, which does nothing for Diagraph Colossus.
It's true. And sadly, Glissa, one of them, maybe not in the deck?
Seems like it.
Okay. Fortunately, he doesn't have any artifacts currently to craft with the bricks.
Nope, not yet. But
But one day.
that extra 2 helps.
Oh, yeah.
And he's one drop, so once he finds that artifact,
Yeah, as much as Daniel's up on cards right now, he is low on life for the matchup.
I
Quite
know.
surprising.
You would think it'd be the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Bill acting as the beatdown here, as shown by playing out the 3-2. He said, "You didn't play enough low drops, I'm gonna go on the offensive." And it has worked.
Yeah.
He's gotten Daniel down to 6.
I suppose he saw something we didn't. He was like, I need to put creatures on the
Yeah,
board. I'm
he
going to win this
said
game
he
before you.
hasn't been aggressive enough. And
Right.
he was pretty right so far. Let's see what Daniel can pull off this turn.
Ooh, I just noticed that land is not a plains. It's the armory from Kaldheim.
Oh, what does that do?
I believe you can pay white, white, red, have and sack it, and tutor for an enchantment, aura, and/or an equipment.
Oh, one of those.
And we know he's got that Minimus containment in his deck.
He's got Minimus. He showed a like short sword or a lance in game 1.
Yep.
So he's definitely got a couple of targets. So the question is, Bill going to swing out here? We've got Daniel with open mana, but we've got Bill with the Necropanther backup.
Yeah, I would be a little concerned
You're
with the
just gonna
3 mana
get
right now.
got, yeah. And
I
I
feel like you have your opponent at 6.
kind of
You
got to
gotta try and
attack.
win.
I
Yeah.
would definitely be worried that both your creatures are gonna get got.
Okay. Well,
Okay. I guess it's Necropanther.
no.
Worst case, the creature gets killed in response and it just goes to the field as a 3/3.
Yeah, it's nice that mutate, you don't get blown out when
Yeah.
your creatures are.
That was something that was always very interesting to me, that mutate kind of protects itself. Seeming like
Yeah,
Daniel does not have a response time here. I wonder if he's restrained on mana or something.
it's gotta be the Vengeful Revel, right? Okay.
Interesting.
Wait, it entered with a counter.
What?
Did it count itself?
What?
It entered with a +1/+1.
Excuse me while I quickly look up this
Yeah,
card.
it definitely. There's no other zombies in his graveyard.
Yeah, yeah. So let's
That
see.
is funny.
Enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 crown. No, no, no. Is the 2-drop zombie in his graveyard?
No, it's under the
It's
mutated
under the
Necropanther.
guy.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so
Enters the
that's impressive.
battlefield with a counter for each zombie in your graveyard. Hmm.
Today I learned that
Wow.
apparently if you reanimate it, it
Counts
counts
himself.
itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
so Daniel with one of his few 5-drops in the deck feels like maybe he was constrained on mana.
and we're getting
He is
swings.
going to 1 here, which is going to be quite the problem with the Go Shintai hitting the board.
Yeah, with putting at least 2 more creatures that are just lethal on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary at times, Daniel. That's reasonable. But yeah, just having this 1/3 that puts another 1/1 out
Yeah,
is
this was a
crazy.
great pickup by Bill.
I'm at 1, and my opponent's got 3 attackers that all kill me.
Definitely pointed it out in the draft of just such a great
Oh,
creature that stalls the game, which is sort of what this deck wants to do.
That's good.
what do you need for? Oh, we
Oh,
need to.
oh, sorry, gotta
You
mute.
can pick up the neck.
Gotta mute Zeke. Sorry, he wasn't in here before. We gotta mute it. Hopefully,
But
he
yeah,
knows
no,
to mute us.
it does seem like with Daniel having that 5 and 6 drop in his hand that he was actually just stuck a little bit
Yeah,
on
which
audible.
is surprising because I feel like Zeke has the higher curve red white deck between the two,
Yeah,
so it does seem like he just kept a sort of high curve hand.
but now with this Forum Familiar coming, you can actually return this Necropanther to your hand and get another reanimate trigger out of it.
Oh, interesting. Very true. Could
And
get
not only
another
that, but
3/3 Colossus.
yeah, the Colossus that apparently counts itself.
You could retrigger Bricks or Trial, which I don't think particularly help you here. Yeah, I feel like the Necropanther's a nice play. You get 2 more creatures out of the deal. Oh, you could pick up the Necropanther, get the Colossus back, and then play the zombie that is underneath the Panther for another 2/2.
That's smart. That's very smart. Yeah, because there is that 2/2
Yeah.
zombie under there.
So you
Yeah, that
could
familiar is
really
great
flood the
throwing.
board that way. I think the familiar is excellent in this deck because it also picks up the ring.
That's true.
It's any
It's not
permanent, so
only
it's another way to reset your ring count. So
yeah, well, resetting it and allowing you to play it again, which is great.
right, which protects you against damage, which is especially good in this matchup.
I
So I
remember
think
back in Lord of the Rings when everyone would pick up those cast into fires just to exile their
yeah,
own one ring.
yes, exactly. Yeah, no. Whenever we saw the familiar in the draft, Dan got very excited. I didn't quite see it at first, but I think it's a excellent, excellent addition to this deck that he did manage to get on the wheel. Because nobody else needed it, but it makes so much sense in this deck. I hope he goes for that play on instep. Maybe goes for a block and then bounces the Necropanther or something.
Well, I can't imagine.
I can't imagine that he's swinging, but you know.
Ooh,
What does
okay.
this do?
All right. So he's
1
he's
damage.
pinging his own creature for a heroic trigger and taking
Why?
out.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, we're getting a swing.
Swing.
So this is
10,
We're looking at
15 damage.
15.
This isn't lethal. What's the play? He does have a 2 mana +1/+1 that we know he took really early
It's
over
worse.
something good, right?
Well, it's an ascension
But
one.
it's essentially so it's +2/+1.
Yeah, it's +2/+2 maybe
Okay,
even.
I'm pulling it up right
So it's
now.
but as long
Pride of
as
Conquerors, yes.
as
Creatures you control get
yeah,
+1/+1 if you have the Series Blessing +2/+2.
as long as
So
Bill blocks 2 creatures, he lives, right? Because he'll
sure,
be
but he
taking
will
6.
lose his creatures, except for, of
But
course,
at
the
this point,
bounds.
well, his opponent's at 1. It doesn't matter. Heroes of the Revel does not trample or anything, right? No, no
No,
creatures.
no,
Yeah, so if he blocks like this,
he's
he's
fine.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think this is probably
that's
the
a
play.
yeah.
I wonder if
And
Frisky Albert has a backup 2-drop creature in hand that he could do instead, since the pump is not lethal here,
sure,
to keep him alive.
you would hope so, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't seem Daniel does not seem like the kind of player to risk it on his
No,
opponent
definitely
coming back.
not. I don't think someone who's willing to wrap in flames their own thing is slipping up like that.
And especially that form familiar was seen by all the players, so it's entirely possible
He
that
knows that
Daniel knows
that's
this.
possible.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure. You can't waste a spell on this. You have to let this happen. So otherwise you're dead to the 1/3.
Oh my
Interesting.
gosh, wait.
Is that enough?
It is.
9.
That's
Oh my
good.
goodness.
Wow.
Holy. Wow, what
An
an
incredible
expert play
from
from
Daniel.
Frisky.
That is what we like to see out of our Mega Draft
Wow.
competitors.
All right, we were definitely down on the red white. We weren't quite sure it was getting down on card advantage in a lot of those games, but that was extremely impressive. He kept a little high
Incredible.
curve hand, and it very much worked out.
Yeah, that was great. That was
Very,
really
very
great.
impressive, excellent play. Um,
So
I will go ahead and stop the recording.